I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network, where tonight we are proud to bring you the stars and cars of the SimSpeedShop.com Premier Series presented by the Sim Racers Club, coming to you from World Wide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth, as always, by Mr. Patrick Byrne. Thank you very much to Connor Baldwin for absolutely fantastic work on the cameras, as always. And Bizzle, hopefully you're here with us. I'll tell you what, it's been interesting to talk to some of the drivers. This place is a little bit tricky. Will Power flying around here in an Indy car, but that's not indicative of what we're going to see here tonight. A little Darlington-esque, but flat, and quite frankly, it sounds like very difficult to get around.
Yeah, this might be the new hardest NASCAR Cup Series track. It is flat. It's not unlike Darlington or Motegi, where they have two very, very different corners, but the difference here is you don't have banking in either of them. So it's almost like you take those tracks, the size of them, the sheer speed, and then give them Martinsville and New Hampshire as their corner options.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough challenge here tonight, especially when we look at what the schedule says are the stages tonight, and that will be lap 30 and lap 65. Where that becomes interesting is we're hearing from the drivers anywhere from, I would say, lap 70 to lap 80 kind of sounds like the window. 73, 74 is probably where we're going to see pit stops, but either way, that puts you past the end of stage 2. So we're going to see a pit stop at the end of stage 2, and then probably one more because you possibly won't be able to make the finish.
Yeah, it's going to really spice things up how they have to stop, especially with how the stages end up falling. We don't know where the cautions are going to be just yet. Still waiting on race control to roll the dice on that one. So that could really spice things up. It could make this a one-stop race, an easy two-stop where you know exactly where you're pitting, or leave everyone to decide where they're going to pit.
And Johnny Avila, who is quickest in practice with 15 seconds remaining, is describing himself as possibly a weapon tonight because he feels like he has no car control. Ordinarily, we don't see caution-filled races out of the Sim Racers Club, but this could possibly be an exception here tonight as practice is concluding. It's just one of those deals that the place is tough, and quite frankly, side by side through the corners is difficult to pull off at best.
It's difficult when we do it in the U.S. open wheel cars, let alone a stock car.
Yeah, that's a great point. Cars with downforce and wings are difficult.
Size.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Double the downforce and half the size. Not exactly the easiest things to get around.
I still remember the first time I ever saw one of the USF 2000 cars at PM18 cars in person. It was at the Carb Night Classic. So they had the Silver Crowns, which are a little bit bigger than a sprint car, the Midgets, which are about half the size of a sprint car, and then by far the smallest cars there were the USF 2000 PM18s. Our cameras here on the iRacing platform don't do them justice. They are smaller than a midget car.
Yeah, they are tiny little things. Just getting the word here from Race Control. Get the graphics updated and ready to show you here. Stages at lap 30 and lap 65. Stage 2 will be the caution flag here tonight. So, again, I think we may see more cautions than that organically, but we'll kind of see how everything shakes out here, as about half the field is out on the racetrack for qualifications. Let's take a look and pick up. Well, let's see who we have on the racetrack anyway. There we go. Let's do this one. We'll bring up the side-by-side box here. Johnny Avila goes quick time in the number 63. Scott Wise going to be second quick, about 0.4 of a second back. We're following along with Scott Wise. Also on camera, down there in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, is Hunter Waters, driving car number 7 out of Newburgh, Indiana, for Will Worsler Racing. The Hunter Fried Pickles Law Chevrolet. Number 7, as he's up into the outside retaining wall. Lap number 2 will not score for Hunter Waters. Let's pick up Johnny Avila as he is getting ready to complete his second lap. Avila out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The GM Good Wrench Service Plus, number 63, comes across the line and actually does not improve. Got a little piece of the outside wall, so his lap will not score. Let's take a look and see who else we have we can take a look at here. Pick up the number 8 of Justin Rideout. Also, let's see. I think we might be able to get, well, maybe not. Let's see. Richard Smith II out on the racetrack. The 8 of Justin Rideout completing his qualification run. Going to be good for 5th quick. Man, I'll tell you what. It seems like everybody is having issues here tonight getting into the walls. AJ Digby is out on the racetrack. At least it says he is. There we go. Got a good look at the number 14. University of Mount Union Esports, the UMU Esports, number 14 of AJ Digby for Will Worsler Racing out of, I believe it's Defiance, Ohio. I know he's from Ohio, but I vaguely remember Defiance. Same hometown as Sam Hornish, actually.
Yeah, he's somewhere near Sharon Speedway, a little bit southwest of there. I believe that would be his local track.
Also on the racetrack, the number 23 of Richard Smith II out of Harmony, Ontario, Canada, for Showtime Racing, Apex V2R, Canadian Sim Racers, Ottawa Grief Care, and far too many other sponsors for me to name. Go ahead, buddy.
It is not Defiance, Ohio. It is quite the opposite. It is Alliance, Ohio.
Alliance, Ohio. There you go.
About an hour southeast of Akron.
Well, there you go. Our resident expert on the armpit of the Midwest.
I spend way too much time in Northeast Ohio. I know that area like the back of my hand.
That's fantastic.
I think I know Northeast Ohio better than my hometown. I grew up in New York.
Oh, that's beautiful. Cody Brooks saying Defiance appropriately sounds like the name of a town in Ohio. Yeah, I think that's where Sam Hornish was from. Let's pick up the 11 of Tyler Seville making his way down the backstretch. Seville out of the great state of West Virginia. Chubby's Hunter Fried Pickles, number 11 for Will Worsler Racing. Johnny Avila still top of the charts, but Braden Carroll now up to second quick in the number 24 for the Layton, Utah native. Driving for Zeems Setup Shop, the Zeems Money Shift Media, number 24. As Tyler Seville gives us some gratuitous violence there to close out the run. Pick up the 59 of Jim Thorndike. Also on the racetrack, the 2 of Mike Larch. Also the 5 of Roger Rios. Oh my goodness, he's alive and back in the race car. The 29 of Will Worsler out on the racetrack. The boss man of Will Worsler Racing. Oh, and on cue. Yard sails it into the big opening down the back straightaway. Roger Rios on the speedway out of Aguadilla, Puerto Rico for Riot Motorsports. Superior Templating and Sim Coaches on the side of the number 5 Chevrolet for Roger. Total of 21 cars on the entry list here tonight. Rios 5th quick, only about 0.2 of a second back of Johnny Avila's quick time. See what we can do here off of turn number 4. And he will go one position higher on the grid, up to the 4th position. Mike Larch with a good lap in car number 2. On lap 1, the Gotham Knights number 2 Ford Mustang. Also on the racetrack is Quentin Clark, Jeff Yenish out on the speedway as well. Kevin Dick has not yet taken time. And you probably might want to get out there, Kevin, as we're down to 3 minutes left in qualifying. But track temps are going up quickly. Mike Larch completes his qualifying run in the number 2. Pick up the number 89 of Broomfield, Colorado's Jeff Yenish. Driving for Yensport Racing. The Rouse homemade number 89 Ford Mustang. Quentin Clark with a good first lap in that number 42 for the Haymarket, Virginia driver, picking up the wheels tonight for Riot Motorsports. Wolfeld on Spotify, Mach 5 Designs, and Sim Coaches on the side of the 42. As Jeff Yenich moves up to 7th quick, he and Quentin Clark will exchange positions. Hunter Waters, 2 laps, neither of them score. So he will have a long road to hoe here tonight. And quite frankly, Bizzle, the season has been interesting thus far. 3 races, 3 different winners, and none of those 3 are leading the point standings. Kevin Dick holding a 5-point advantage over Tyler Seville. Johnny Avila is 10 back. Let's take a look at the schedule and pick up our list of winners. Tyler Seville getting the dominant win 1 week ago in the Charlotte 300, presented by Jim Wardlow down there at the Charlotte Motors Speedway. Johnny Avila getting the win at North Wilkesboro, and Braden Carroll opening up this season with the win at Darlington.
Yeah, it's weird to see neither of those 2 in victory lane so far. Usually they're trading it off every other week, and it's kind of a wild card when we get someone else to win one of these things, but they haven't seen victory lane yet.
Well, Johnny Avila has. He got the win at North Wilkesboro. But
that's right.
When we're looking at, we've talked a lot about the fact that the bonus points matter a lot in this series, and you'll find when we look at the numbers that they do, your top 3 in points all have 4 bonus points. The bigger number, though, are top 5 finishes. Kevin Dick, Tyler Seville, and Johnny Avila each have 2 top 5 finishes this season. Actually, and they all only have 2 top 10s as well. As Kevin Dick on lap number 1 goes second quick, 34.664 seconds. He will get lap number 2 in the books here as we're down to 25 seconds remaining. And in fact, he will be the final car to complete the qualification run. Here and working the gearbox off at turn number 4 under the checkered flag. Lap number 2 for Kevin Dick is faster, but not quite good enough. 34.648, 16 1/1000ths of a second separating our top 2 drivers here tonight, and that will close things out for qualifications. As we get ready to roll for tonight's race, let's get ready to take a look at your starting lineup for tonight's SimSpeed Shop Premier Series event at Gateway. On the front row, the 2 guys that have been inseparable this season. In fact, I believe it may even be back-to-back weeks that these guys have done this. Johnny Avila and Kevin Dick on the front row for tonight's race. Number 63 of Johnny Avila out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. For Will Worsler Racing, GM Goodrich Service on the side of the 63. 52 of Kevin Dick, another Canadian driver. Custom paints and die casts on the side of the number 52 Chevrolet. Row number 2 will have the number 24 of Braden Carroll out of Layton, Utah. The Zeems Setup Shop, Zeems Money Shift Media, number 24 Chevrolet Camaro. Alongside will be the number 45 of Andrew Mraz out of East Lansing, Michigan for Riot Motorsports. Sim Coaches, Superior Templating LLC, Riot Motorsports, and Customs on the side of the number 45. Row number 3 tonight will have Roger Rios out of Aguadilla, Puerto Rico for Riot Motorsports, Superior Templating and Sim Coaches Chevrolet Camaro. Alongside the number 28 of Troy Haight, the Woodfather Chevrolet Camaro. Row number 4, Mike Larch in the Gotham Knights number 2 Ford Mustang, lining up alongside of the 89 of Jeff Yenish out of Broomfield, Colorado for Yensport Racing, the Rouse homemade Ford Mustang. Row number 5, the 42 of Quentin Clark out of Haymarket, Virginia for Riot Motorsports, Wolfelt on Spotify, Mach 5 Design, and Sim Coaches on adorning the quarter panels of that Chevrolet Camaro. Alongside is the 29, the boss of Will Worsler Racing, Metabo HPT Chevrolet Camaro for Will Worsler. Row 6 will have the 14 of AJ Digby out of Alliance, Ohio, Will Worsler Racing, University of Mount Union Esports Chevrolet, alongside the 99 of Scott Wise. The car says 31. The timing and scoring data will say 99 here this evening. Row number 7, the 11 of Tyler Seville out of West Virginia, Chubby's Hunter's Fried Pickles on the side of the Toyota Camry, alongside the 59 of Jim Thorndike, the Sim Coaches Chevrolet Camaro. Row number 8, Justin Rideout in the JW Racing Chevrolet Camaro, alongside the number 4 Mountain Dew Zero Sugar entry of Lee Campbell out of Ballston Spa, New York. Row number 9, the 33 of Dean Gagliano out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin for Gundog Motorsports, alongside the 43 of Richard Fletcher for Will Worsler Racing. Row 10, John Moeller and Hunter Waters. And row number 11 will be the 23 of Richard Smith II. Field coming off at turn number 4 under the control of Johnny Avila. They will get down into the start zone. Green flag goes in the air. We are underway here at Gateway. Ooh, already almost a little bit of contact there between Braden Carroll and Andrew Mraz. Big wiggle off the corner for Kevin Dick.
Yeah, he got loose. Looks like he got to the power a little too early trying to chase down Johnny Avila down the start.
Looks like almost everybody going to be single file off at turn number 4. Johnny Avila leads lap number 1 ahead of Kevin Dick, Braden Carroll, Andrew Mraz, and Roger Rios. Have a feeling this may be a fair bit of what we see here tonight, Bizzle, because outside of some cars a little bit further back in the pack, in fact, I think we'll pick up Tyler Seville in the 11 here. This is kind of one of those deals where if you don't want to battle real hard, because if the car is evil handling, it's not going to be a pleasant drive if you burn the tires off too soon.
Yeah, especially with how long you can go on the fuel run, you don't want to burn those tires off. And it's very easy to push the right front off the car going through turns number 3 and 4. And it's very easy to burn the right rear off going out of turn number 2.
Cody Brooks, Zanesville, Ohio has more churches than liquor stores or bars for a very good reason. Left a bad impression on me.
Oh, man. I haven't been to Zanesville yet, but yeah, I've heard some stories, and I'm not sure if I want to go down there.
Scott Wise slides up the racetrack as the number 8 of Justin Rideout is going to have the peak to the inside. Oh, and big contact! contact down the backstretch. Caution flag is out. Braden Carroll was around. Big hit to the inside wall for Dean Gagliano. Looks like the 14 may have been involved in that one as well. We are under caution for the first time here tonight. Take a look at the Hot Shoe Raceway instant replay here. See what happened to AJ Digby on throttle. Oh man,
he just got loose avoiding the incident.
Avoiding the incident of trying to avoid Braden Carroll. Take a look, little bit of a shove there from Andrew Mraz. And that car just twitches loose. Big correction back to the inside. And nowhere for the number 8 to go.
You can see just how twitchy these machines are tonight. Everyone is driving on such an edge that just trying to avoid the crash, you end up crashing by yourself. It is going to be one challenging race for these drivers.
Yeah, a couple on pit road already, Braden Carroll and Justin Rideout. Looks like AJ Digby will lead a couple of cars down pit lane. Also Jim Thorndike there as well. But we'll pick up your race leader here. And, well, we have the timer up on the screen. 1 hour, 46 minutes remaining in the session. But working lap number 6 of 140. Already, even with the early caution. Even with the early caution, we're still about a half hour to the good in terms of time frames.
I was just about to ask, because I know that timer comes up automatically when we're going to hit the timer instead of the laps. I was like, there's no way we're going to hit the timer before the laps are up, is there? This early?
No, I don't think so. That's a graphics choice from a prior broadcast, I think, on my end. But, yeah, it's one of those deals that it's probably something that these drivers may have to consider. If you can make it 70-some laps, and especially now closer to 80, I would think, if you're going to get some cautions, now you're talking about, are you going to hit the time limit, and do you plan a one-stop strategy around that?
It's very possible, and we've talked about this before with the Sim Racers Club, and there's been a couple times they've gotten close to hitting the time limit, but in the past year and a half or so, I don't think I've ever seen them hit the time limit. I definitely come close, definitely brought the question up a couple times, but I don't think they've ever hit it yet. And I don't think they're going to.
No, I think the closest we came was one race last season. We were within about 10 seconds of hitting the time limit. But in that case, you're down to 1 or 2 laps to go, so it really doesn't matter anyway. But field has gotten the 1-to-go signal. They are starting to double up. Johnny Avila and Kevin Dick will be on the front row once again for the restart. Andrew Mraz and Roger Rios on row number 2. Row 3 will have Mike Larch and Troy Haight. Looks like Quentin Clark and Jeff Yeddish on row 4, Scott Wise and Will Worsler on row number 5. Of the cars that came down pit lane, it looks like 3 of the 5 have gotten back out onto the racetrack. Braden Carroll and Justin Rideout both had to tow. Those cars still stationary on pit lane. Fields into the start zone. Green flag goes in the air once again. Good restart for Johnny Avila. He will lead the field down to turn number 1. Side by side, Kevin Dick, Andrew Mraz for second. It's interesting, Patrick. I hate to go full Rick Allen this early in this race, but if the drivers are talking about evil handling race cars and we already got a caution 6 laps in, it becomes a situation where sometimes maybe you have to consider just being there at the end is important. Oh, is Kevin Dick almost into the safer barrier in 1 and 2?
Yeah, I've done that plenty of times here at Gateway. Thankfully, this track is wide enough that you can kind of chase the car up there for a long while before you'll actually hit the wall. You kind of just got to get on the binders, get the car real close, let off the brakes, and usually you won't hit the wall as long as you get it back down quick enough. But very, very easy to do here, even with one of our top talents behind the wheel of that car.
Well, Dean Gagliano is on pit lane. Let's take a look. Jim Thorndike, John Moeller, and Richard Fletcher battling back here. AJ Digby going to be in that one as well, but looks like a pretty decent damage repair by the crew of the 14. Digby being the first car scored 1 lap down.
Yep, all he needs is a caution, and he'll be right back there on the lead lap. And with the way some of these guys have their cars driving, I don't think that's going to be very much of an issue.
Andrew Mraz making up a little bit of ground here on Johnny Avila. Has the lead down to a tenth and change, maybe 2/10 as they enter turn number 3, but that's only going to be about a car length and a half. It's your top 6 starting to break away. It's another 0.8 of a second back to Quentin Clark running in the 7th position. Quentin's been a guy that we have not talked about a ton during these races, but now has 2 podium finishes on the season that he has done what seems like very, very quietly. Those are the guys that can be dangerous when you do start talking championships because they're always there at the end of the race.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Kevin Harvick of this series. Just sit back, don't make a big drum about yourself, and then be there for the finish and get the interview in, because that's really all he's done since he's got here into Sim Racer Club. Joined late last season, and now at this season, he's been there the whole time.
Seeing the word from race control, car 24 getting a penalty. That is Braden Carroll, and that penalty has been served. Man, I'll tell you what, if these guys at the front are about smacking cars off the safer barrier exiting the corner, it has to be an absolute mess going on back in the pack. Let's slide back a little bit. Pick up Will Worsler and Tyler Seville. They're separated by about 0.3. The best battle right now is for the lead. So I guess we'll head back up here and get you that look, because it's still 10th and change, maybe 0.2 separating Johnny Avila and Andrew Mraz.
Yeah, Andrew Mraz just kind of sitting there right on the rear bumper waiting for Johnny to make just some kind of a mistake. Johnny's saying he might be running out of talent tonight, so maybe Andrew Mraz overheard that, and he's just waiting for the opportunity to present itself.
It's a tough one, because you almost have to work on the driver's skill set of when do you push, when do you kind of back off, and do you try to take that full first stage to feel the race car out. I didn't see a ton of guys making large numbers of laps in practice. That becomes a big deal when all of a sudden you have to go 50 or 60 laps in the race. You don't make the Monday night practice session, you might not know what a long run feels like.
Yeah, I know usually Johnny has other commitments to go to during those practices, as he's about to get passed for the lead right here.
Oh, buddy, that's tight through 3 and 4. Man, that's tough. Andrew Mraz doing a nice job not pushing up the racetrack, because that's what these cars want to do. It's that push. Oh, little contact. Oh, Avila's hard into the wall. Caution is out, Johnny Avila hard into the outside wall. Looks like Quentin Clark may have bounced off the safer barrier as well. Johnny Avila goes around. And the question is, did he have some help? Oh, it's Quentin Clark. Well, let's see. Let's get you the right replay up here. Pick up Johnny Avila and Andrew Mraz. Take a look at it from the overhead. Oh, yeah, there was
Mraz's
definitely a
car
little
just didn't
contact.
turn. You know what? Johnny looks like he hit that square, and it doesn't look like there's too much damage on that car. We've seen him come back from some big hits before, and he's going to be the one to watch, see if he can do it again.
Yeah, I tell you what, a little bit of a decent hit there as well for Lee Campbell into the side of Quentin Clark.
Yeah, I think Quentin Clark's got more damage from that one than Johnny Avila does.
Quite possibly. He scraped the outside wall and then took a pretty hard shot from Lee Campbell. Now the question becomes, if there is a penalty that gets issued to the 45 of Andrew Mraz, that would put Kevin Dick up to the lead and really change the complexion of how these drivers are going to think about the end of stage number 1 here.
Yeah, and it looks like Quentin Clark is just going to, it looks like Andrew Mraz is just going to claim the caution and move himself to the back of the field. It's probably safer to do that than throw away the whole championship by taking a huge penalty after the fact. Still plenty of time to run your way back up through the field.
Yeah, it looks like the penalty is being served here by car 45. That is Andrew Mraz heading to the back of the pack for the avoidable contact penalty. That will put Kevin Dick at the front of the field alongside Roger Rios. Take a look. I believe Roger Rios actually has a fair bit of history in this league. I know he also ran when we were doing the Fuel Premier Series broadcasts. We saw Roger running those as well. Okay, so not a huge number of starts in the league here. Roger Rios, 108th on the all-time starts list with 8. One pole position over his career, no wins, but 6 top 5s and 7 top 10s. So the guy is absolutely no slouch. And sneaky fast, because the I rating is only 2408 on Roger Rios, and the talent level says other things pretty significantly.
Yeah, he might be just one of those guys that doesn't run official races very often at all, just runs in the leagues. And your I rating kind of stays pretty stagnant, but obviously you pick up more and more skill the more you run in the leagues, and obviously there's natural talent that goes into play there as well.
Well, and especially if you're a stock car guy, I would tend to think, at least this is for hashtag me personally, I would rather run a bunch of leagues than say, hey, I can jump on the sim on Tuesday nights at 7 and I'm going to commit to running this 7 o'clock split or something like that. Because you end up in a lot of, the C-fixed races at Pocono that you run 38 of 40 laps under caution. I would rather run leagues, and you get to build that community, and that's really what the fun part of doing this is. It's not about the pretend race cars. It's about the people that you meet and you get to talk to every week.
Yeah, I know just from the TNT League and the RAL League, I've met probably most of either of those servers, most of the most active people in either of those servers. It's just great fun to get together with a bunch of guys you play a silly video game with and go to some real races.
Yeah, you go to some real races, you get kitchen floor drunk. There's a lot of things that you get to do when you hang out with your buddies here from the iRacing platform.
You make Chris's wife very upset at you. It's all good fun.
Stories that will be told off air at a later date. Kevin Dick and Roger Rios on the front row. Mike Larch, Troy Haight on row number 2. Jeff Yenish and Will Worsler on row number 3. How about Hunter Waters? That car is up 13 positions from where he started the night. Oh, as the green flag goes in the air, Rios boggles down just a little bit. That forced Troy Haight to get off the gas. Oh, and there's big contact down to the inside. Johnny Avila and Jim Thorndike. Thorndike slides up the racetrack. We're going to stay green.
Johnny Avila is a man on a mission now. He is seeing red out of the cockpit of that number 63 car. Going to be trying to run down Andrew Mraz. Hopefully get by him a little bit more cleanly than they were trying before.
Well, yeah, we're coming to the end of stage number 1. And as it stands right now, Johnny Avila will not earn any stage points here in stage number 1. You got to get inside the top 10 to pull that off. As Hunter Waters looking inside of Will Worsler off of turn number 2. Tyler Seville going to be right with him. That's 6, 7, and 8 on the racetrack. And this is about the best that Kevin Dick could have hoped for here. As we'll pick up the side-by-side and get your race leader here off at turn number 2 in the little box, because we're going to be down to about 6, 7 laps to go here in stage number 1. Kind of getting to feel like we had, what was it, I guess a week ago, Patrick. Early part of the race had a handful of cautions to it, and then things started to settle in.
Yeah, we still have a lot of cars out here. Still 17 cars on the lead lap, including Jim Thorndike, Johnny Avila, AJ Digby, Quentin Clark, all involved in major incidents, and still out there running pretty strong.
Yeah, it looks like Braden Carroll and Justin Rideout are going to be the only 2 cars scored as out of the race. Scott Wise, Dean Gagliano being scored off the lead lap. Oh, big slide, Lee Campbell, hold on to it through turn 4. Man, that is just so easy to do. And the problem is you absolutely cook the tires off the thing. Then you got a big problem on your hands.
These guys seem to have settled down so far, though. Everyone running kind of single file, about a second apart. Nobody's really going for any of those big dives or huge moves just yet. Andrew Mraz looking to the inside of Will Worsler, though.
Yeah, nice
Not
recovery.
gonna make anything happen there.
Nice recovery from Mraz, coming back from that EOL penalty at the last caution. As we're going to be down to, it'll be 2 laps to go here in stage number 1. Man, Will Worsler with a big moment off of turn 4. It's almost like I don't know who to go on board with, but these moments are so much bigger when you're driving the car than just what it looks like a little twitch. But your hands are sawing back and forth on the wheel.
Oh yeah, they're my favorite to go back and look at and kind of put in the slow motion. Just look at them frame by frame, because it's just a split second, but my hands on my wheel will turn about 270 degrees to the right and back to center in what seems like a split second. It is incredibly insane to try and drive these things.
your race leader, Kevin Dick, down the back straightaway here as we are working lap number 30. Remember, stage number 1 will end with no caution flags. But off at turn number 4, he will see the green and white checkered and pick up the win in Northland Leisure, stage number 1. Another big 10 bonus points, or 10 points, I should say, for Kevin Dick picking up the stage.
Yeah, and of note, Johnny Avila outside the top 10, still not picking up those bonus points, and it's just going to put him further and further back in the championship. I was talking to him before the race, and he's kind of just here for fun anymore. He's not focused on winning, just here to have a good time, so we might see some new championship contenders step up and try and win these things.
Yeah, nice battle here between the 89 of Jeff Yenish and the 28 of Troy Haight. And quite frankly, we're seeing a little bit of new blood in the series as well. Roger Rios is a guy that I would not be surprised if he's able to make enough races. He could be a contender for the top 10 in points. Jeff Yenish has been here all season long.
Yeah, Jeff Yenish usually in the past was Johnny Avila's go-to replacement driver if Johnny Avila had to step out. And he proved his talent the first time we saw him on our airwaves taking over Johnny's car. Never heard of the guy before, and he goes out there and wins the race. So definitely some talent behind that car.
Yeah, and looking at that, we're talking about new blood and a little bit bigger entry list than what we had towards the tail end of last season. We have 10 drivers within 33 points of the lead for the championship. So it's not just Kevin Dick, Tyler Seville, Johnny Avila, the names that we would expect to be talking about. Quentin Clark, we talked about being very sneaky at the end of these races and kind of always showing up there. He's 4th in points, up 7 after his back-to-back podium finishes. Hunter Waters up 8 after last week's race at Charlotte to 5th in points. Even Andrew Moore Jr. is only 25 points back. That could be 2 pie-eyed racers within a handful of positions of each other come the end of the season. Heard a lot of discussion during the practice earlier about people getting squeezed. We're feeling and seeing a lot of that off of corner exit, and especially on corner entry, it feels like. Tyler Seville, I think, wanted to arc it a little bit deeper into the corner that time, and Andrew Mraz had just enough of his nose there that Tyler didn't want the same thing to happen as what happened to Johnny Avila. It wasn't a dump. It was just that the car that was inside pushed a little bit, and that's all it took.
Yeah, it wasn't anything malicious at all. It was just straight up missed the line by a hair and came up about half a car width into Johnny Avila. So very easy to do. Right there you see both the 45 and the 11 car pushing wide, getting up high on the racetrack. So it's a very, very difficult place to get around. Especially racing here in the daytime. Usually they run this track at the nighttime. There's a little more grip on the speedway. A little less push out of the race cars, but in the daytime, these things don't want to steer, they don't want to turn, they definitely don't want to get back in the power, or you'll spin them out.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the weather conditions and how this update in particular that iRacing put out a couple of weeks or so ago now, it is definitely more weather dependent. Partly cloudy skies, 79-degree ambient temperature, but now 122-degree track temps. That was almost unheard of until this season. Now we're seeing track temps over 120 almost every week, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's huge. We got a huge weather update. We got a huge dynamic track update. It's all in preparation for how eventually rain is going to affect these surfaces, but as well as there was a huge update to the dirt side as well, which just looking at it at a glance, it looks like it only helps the dirt racers, but dirt is the most dynamic surface you can get, and all of those updates help change the way that rubber moves up and down on these racetracks and how the rubber reacts to the humidity and the temperature in the air.
Yeah, that was a big part of the dirt update, was the fact of how the tracks would rubber in based on environmental conditions and even water depths within the dirt surfaces and those sorts of things. Eliminate the wetness part of that, which obviously, like you said, is a precursor for the rain that is coming eventually. But it does impact the surfaces. And the reality is, it's not like you're going to a real-world racetrack and you're putting real tires on real asphalt or real concrete. It's basically mathematical parameters. So if you make a big change to the source code like that, you're changing things for everybody.
Yeah, and like a lot of people don't think of dirt tracks as being a very grippy surface, and you know, the rubber and track temp don't really matter because you're just digging into the dirt. But if you've ever gone to a dirt track, especially one that's going to run the entire day and they're anticipating rain so they're not watering the racetrack in, it absolutely builds up a ton of rubber, and you'll actually start seeing tire smoke off the car and tire squeal like a normal car in asphalt spinning the tires. It almost turns into pavement when it gets dry enough and you lay enough rubber down on the track. It's really interesting to watch the track develop over the course of a day.
Yeah, it is a huge factor. The old days, everything was dry, slick, and hard to control. Now it seems like the race fans, and quite frankly even a lot of the drivers, they want that tacky, gripped up surface. Instead of being sliding around and like you said, even throwing up smoke off the tires, these guys want that super fast, lot of grip, I would say locked down to the inside kind of racing. But that's what really makes this interesting. And I love the transition. The fact that the way iRacing applied the dirt changes to the other track surfaces, we're even seeing it in the Formula cars on road courses and the GT cars on road courses. This update had a bigger effect than people think. And it's this type of thing, like where Johnny Avila is concentrating on doing the Road to Pro stuff, these laps are actually really important for him in these SRC events, because it's not necessarily the Road to Pro car and the Road to Pro track of the week, but it's more laps, and the more you build up that personal database of information, that's what helps you improve at all levels of the service.
Yeah, and that is why I am so talented at all of the random stuff that we do for the Fastmaster series and the After Dark series, is just because I don't focus on one car or one track. I am very good at just adapting to stuff that shouldn't be happening, such as Formula V's at New Hampshire. But even that has been thrown all for a loop. The skippies, which used to be fantastic on the dirt side and the dirt ovals, the rallycross, even those have gotten very challenging to drive, because instead of kind of just floating on top of the dirt like they used to, now the tires are actually digging into the dirt, and those little tiny, barely treaded tires just don't really dig in. They kind of just get stuck. And it's completely changed the way all of those things drive. It's really kind of neat seeing how everything's been affected by this update.
I think there was also a little bit of damage model updating as well, because you mentioned Skippy Cross. That is one of the favorite events we've ever run. We took the Skippies out to Wild West, and you hit the jumps, and you could feel the entire car just collapse when you would land off the jumps. Like, you can't beat these things up like you used to. I mean, obviously you have damage when turned off for those sorts of things, but yes, there is that momentary hit, it breaks, and then it heals itself. It's not a true damage thing.
Yeah, and that almost makes it very interesting too, because you can either fly over the jumps and smash the car down, and you can make an overtake. I've passed people by jumping over them. But the problem is you have to wait that 6-7 seconds or so before the car heals itself and you get axles back in the back of the thing to drive power to the tires.
Let's take a look here. Roger Rios and Mike Larch going into turn one, coming up on Dean Gagliano. Oh, big slide for Mike Larch. Little bit of a pancake off the safer barrier. Going to give up a couple of positions in that fight. As we go back to the live look, now we're getting the long run that we had kind of hoped to see. With the cautions, we're going to get the caution at lap 65. I would think everybody is going to pit there. However, you do have to kind of put the math into things, because if you stop at 65, then you would have to go, let's see, 140 minus 65. Get the calculator out. Yeah, that's 75 laps. It's kind of right on the edge of a fuel run. That's not necessarily going to be an easy thing to keep control of these race cars late in that stint. Do you stop at 65 and make it a two-stop race, or do you try to make this a one-stop race?
I just don't see how you're going to go that far on the tires. I would think I would want to pit at lap 65, just stick with the traditional strategy tonight, and pit again later in the race. If we get a late race caution, pit there again. But you could see some guys stay out. It'll definitely be a gamble, but they could make it work, and sometimes gambles pay off huge. Sometimes you hit the jackpot.
Oh,
Hunter
hold on to
Waters
it.
putting himself into a pickle, though.
Wow, that was a big wiggle. That was a huge tilt behind the wheel of the number 7 there. Good Lord. Fighting that machine off of turn 2. Makes the nice save, though, but Hunter Waters is going to fall back to position number 8. And of note here, Johnny Avila has gone a lap down. He will be the first car 1 lap down, currently in the 16th position. As this next time by, it will be 15 laps to go here in stage number 2 for Kevin Dick. He's doing tonight what Tyler Seville did to the field 1 week ago at Charlotte. But, man, I'll tell you what, these guys are going to be hurting for tires. You see how hard that car pushed at the entrance to turn 1? These things just do not want to turn now. And it's now when you really have to worry about the push to oversteer or snap loose on understeer.
Yeah, and that's the hardest sensation to fight as the driver, is when the car is pushing, understeering, so you start backing off earlier and earlier, and you're waiting for the car to turn, and then all of a sudden, it goes, hey, yeah, we turn now, and you're pointed straight towards that inside wall.
Well, that's what we saw out of Hunter Waters off of turn 2. Understeer all the way off the corner until the front tires grip up just enough to point you to the inside wall. Right here is the best battle for position on the racetrack. Troy Haight and Mike Larch fight for the 4th position. Jeff Yenish also gaining a little bit of ground on Roger Rios. Pick up that battle as well off of turn number 2. This all happening about 4.5 seconds behind the race leader. After a tough race tonight, we get craziness next week. The Barb Moeller Myasthenia Gravis Awareness 200 from the Daytona International Speedway will be coming up next week. We're going to call it the Firecracker 200, I think, a little bit. We might have to talk to Johnny Moeller about this one a little bit. But another awareness race for John's mom. We're looking forward to that one, and then it will be the off week. We will not run the day after the Independence Day holiday weekend. Then we have a 5-race stretch heading to Nashville Superspeedway. Bizzle's back behind the wheel on July 19th, heading off to Watkins Glen. Atlanta Motor Speedway July 26th, followed by New Hampshire, and Pocono before the final off week, and then, well, the last 2 races of the season at Richmond and Michigan. Only 4 races in, and we're already looking ahead to the end of the season, but that's sort of the neat thing about how these Sim Racers Club Sim Speed Shop Premier Series events work, Patrick, is it's a 36-race schedule. Oh, Roger!
Oh, hang on to it.
Wow. Big save there. But, man, we're talking about how the season lays out and how the schedule works. It really makes it fun because a guy like Roger Rios can join in the summer season, run the entire summer schedule, run the fall schedule, and have a decent shot at a pretty high points finish overall.
Yeah, what was it? It takes your best 24 weeks or your best 12 weeks out of all 3 seasons?
No, it takes your best 11 of each 12. So whatever the spring season standings were, they're locked in. And then you're going to take the best 11 of your middle 12 and then the best 11 of your final 12.
Well, shoot, I don't think I'm going to be very high in the point standings after only running 3 races.
That is correct. You do
There goes
not.
my hopes of winning the
You
championship.
didn't have a chance at a championship even if you did show up and run these every week.
I finished I think I finished 5th in the Winter Series, so I'm not as bad as you think I am.
Not as think as you drunk I am. Pick up Troy Haight and Mike Large battling for 4th and 5th. By the way, only water being consumed at the World Broadcast headquarters here tonight. But rapidly approaching the end of stage number 2. Catching up to Richard Smith II, Troy Haight and Mike Larch are both going to have the look inside. That's one of those, if you're Mike Larch, just get the pass made on the lap car, and then we can go back to fighting again, please.
So I am double checking the Winter Series points. I did finish 7th in those point standings out of 30, mind you. 6 starts, same as everyone else. 3 top 5s and 6 top 10s, so a top 10 in each of my finishes. So I don't think that's half bad.
Not too bad. Pick up once again here, Roger Rios and Jeff Yenish fighting for 2nd, separated by about 0.2 or so. Roger Rios driving under the Riot Motorsports banner tonight, along with Quentin Clark, Andrew Mraz, and Jim Thorndike. Justin Rideout got back on the racetrack, came around Braden Carroll as Jeff Yenish comes around Roger Rios to pick up 2nd with 5 laps to go here in stage number 2. But Rios going to have the look back to the inside. They were talking about how that far inside lane is just not where you want to be because it is almost pancake flat.
Yes, aggressive banking through turns 1 and 2, and car really just wants to push up there. That's where we saw that incident between Andrew Mraz and Johnny Vila, where the car just pushed up into the bank because there's nothing down there. And it just eats up your right front tire, so really don't want to be down there for very long.
Kevin Dick, your race leader, by now 6 seconds over Jeff Yenish. Yenish carrying the flag tonight for Will Worsler Racing. The boss man, the 2nd best of the Armada, currently running in the 6th position with a couple of teammate cars back behind. Tyler Seville in 7th, Hunter Waters in 8th. Richard Smith II now the first car 1 lap down, and Johnny Avila is about 6 seconds back, now 5.5 back of Smith. So he's going to have to get a move on here if he wants to be able. Oh, and Yenish way inside. Oh my goodness. That car was down on the grass entering turn 1.
And he got it done. Roger Rios going to go back for the move in the turn number 3.
You almost wonder, are these guys down to nothing on the tires?
They have to be. There can't be much rubber left. They're down to the cords. I'm surprised we're not seeing sparks fly up on this racetrack.
Yeah, and even we've talked about it in the past, but iRacing does not model flat tires per se. It just models no grip, and there is a difference to those things. But you get the meatball when you're down to just a couple of percent left on the tire, and you have to serve that meatball within a certain number of laps. So if you're really worried about tire wear, you almost have to really back off so you don't wear the tires down those last couple of percent.
Yeah, that meatball usually comes up, I think, with... Actually, I don't think it comes up till you have 0% on the tires, but your crew chief definitely starts getting in your ear once they get to about 20%. Like, hey, we should really put new tires on this car, you know?
Please, for the love of God, find the entrance to pit lane. And this one is not easy to do, especially on old tires. You have to enter pit lane off of turn number 3 and run that bone flat banking as the green and white checkered flag comes out on stage number 2. Kevin Dick picks up his second Northland Leisure stage win of the night. And there we see the caution flag for the end of stage number 2. But thus far, a big points haul here for Kevin Dick. Tyler Seville, his closest rival in the championship, entering the night, comes home 7th in stage number 2. So that's going to be a 6-point swing without even factoring in what happened in stage number 1.
Yeah, Kevin Dick absolutely capitalizing on as many stage points as he can, and he's going to take the early dive, not even going to hide it. Yep, we're putting fresh rubber on this car coming down pit lane.
Yeah, you would think that this is kind of the no-brainer strategy, so to speak. Make your stop here at 67 and hope you can make the tires last the rest of the race. But looks like everybody on pit lane inside, let's see, Andrew Mraz also on pit lane. AJ Digby making his way in as well. Quentin Clark pulling into the pits. Johnny Avila coming into the pits. I think a lap too early there, Johnny, but 52 hits his marks. Crew will go around to the left side. It'll be 4 fresh Goodyear Racing Eagles, 2 cans of Sunoco Racing Fuel going into the 52. Zavila slides into his box. Kevin Dick down and away. He will win the race off of pit lane, followed by Jeff Yenish, Roger Rios, Mike Larch, Troy Haight, and Tyler Seville. See if we can't get a quick word in here with our winner of stage 1 and 2 tonight, Kevin Dick. And Kevin, congratulations. The car looks like it's absolutely on rails, but something tells me that's not what you're feeling in the driver's seat.
No, this thing's a dump truck. This thing is terrible. Yeah, I don't know. See what happens. I mean, I pushed it a little bit too hard there early on. I really ate up that right front. But I don't think you guys could really tell that with the times we were all running.
Well, it seemed like everybody was kind of losing about the same amount, and you were really the beneficiary of that, able to just take advantage of the clean air. But now, as we're working a nice lap number 69, do you try to stretch this the rest of the way, or is the plan to go, hey, we're going to get one more caution, I'm going to put another set of tires on it?
I don't know. We'll just see which way it goes. I hope it doesn't go green the whole way. This thing's way too much of a dump truck. I hope we get a caution about midway.
All right, buddy. Good luck the rest of the way, and congratulations on the stage wins.
Thanks.
So there you go. There's Kevin Dick. He's picked up both stage wins here tonight. He's saying pushing like a dump truck, and he was no good. What does that make everybody else?
Well, I'd imagine if he's driving a dump truck, everyone else is driving one of those NASA rovers or submarines or something.
They're doing something, because this is quite frankly, not a real pleasant scenario for these drivers, as we do get the one-to-go signal, so the field will make their choices of lane at the start-finish line. Jeff Yanish going to elect to start on the outside of row number 1 for the restart. Roger Rios and Troy Haight on row number 2. Very nice run for Troy Haight here in the number 28. Mike Larch and Hunter Waters on row number 3. Well, let's see. Let's get a little bit different look here and see if we can't pick up who's who. There's Roger Rios and Troy Haight. Mike Larch and Tyler Seville on row 3. Hunter Waters and Will Worsler on row 4. Row 5 looks like it should be Richard Fletcher and Andrew Mraz. Still 14 cars remain on the lead lap. Fields off of turn number 4 into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. You see the drag race to turn number 1. Kevin Dick, Jeff Yanish. It's going to be Kevin Dick and Roger Rios getting the great jump. Mike Large coming around Jeff Yanish. Oh, buddy, man, alive. These guys are already a little bit squirrely back here. Hunter Waters having the look inside of Troy Haight into 3. That whole discussion of burning your right front off seems to not matter when you have new sneakers on the race car, Bizzle.
No, you kind of forget about that whole tire save thing, because the good fresh tires, they give you some confidence to go out there and really push the race car. It's only when they start falling off that you go, darn, I really should have saved those things earlier.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, is that it seems like the tires have cliffed more than they did prior to the update. You could get you would sort of feel a consistent drop-off. Now it feels, at least these Cup tires, that the look of it to me is you still have that same kind of gradual fall-off, but you do hit a point where they just cliff, and you're going to lose, instead of, half a tenth a lap or something like that, you're losing 0.2 for a couple of laps, and then the fall-off is gradual again.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big step where from like 100% to 80% they'll be mint, and then between 80 and 40% they'll feel like absolute trash. You'll just start losing a tenth every single lap, and then it kind of just sits all the way until you blow out one of the tires.
Kevin Dick, back-to-back laps, new fastest lap of the race, 34.625. That time by for Pilot 52. While we have a moment here, let's say a couple of big thank yous to the sponsors that help make these broadcasts possible for the SimSpeed Shop Premier Series. That includes Realty Executive Saskatoon, the sponsors of the Most Laps Led, Hard Charger, and Most Positions Lost prizes. Currently, your Hard Charger looks to be Hunter Waters, up 11 to run in the 9th position. Biggest loser of the night will be Braden Carroll, who will lose 18 positions. and finish in 21st after qualifying on the inside of row number 2. Also have to thank Northland Leisure Products, the sponsor of the stage breaks. Putting up the awards for the stage winners. Kevin Dick picking up both of those awards tonight. Oh, as Mraz makes contact with Will Worsler. What a save by the 29!
He's still saving that race car.
My goodness, that was impressive for Will Worsler. Before we get too deep into this, Custom Paints and Diecast, a seasonal and Grand Champion prize sponsor. Caution is out. Yellow flag is out on the speedway, and it looks like it may be trouble for Richard Smith II. See what happened here to the 23. Oh, big pancake into the left side. Concrete retaining walls separating pit lane from the racing surface. That will put us under the caution once again here at Gateway. So we'll pick up, we'll pick up your race leader. I think it's a little bit too soon to consider putting another set of tires on here, as it's only about 11 laps on the stint. However, though, now, Patrick, we are in that window. By the time we go back to green, it'll be about a 60-lap run. If you're going to chance it, do you stop now and hope that you kind of catch everybody else out if they decide to make a green flag pit stop?
No, only 10 laps on the tire. Not even 10 laps on the tires. It's got to be way too early. Maybe if you're in the back of the pack and just splash it up on fuel, but even still, I think everyone else can make it to the end at this point.
Yeah, it looks like it would be 72 laps or so, 73 laps, which is kind of right in the window that we had heard from the drivers in the pre-race. But that was also assuming that was a green flag run. So the caution flags are going to have the leaders plenty to the good in terms of how much fuel they have available. A quick check of the timer here showing 54 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock, and what should be about 35 minutes or so left of race time here based on what the data that the timing and scoring system is giving us. So should be plenty to the good on the time limit. So I guess now the question becomes, the longer that we run in this race, how aggressive do you have to be if you're somebody like Tyler Seville, Andrew Mraz, Hunter Waters that are running 6th, 7th, and 8th? You can't let Kevin Dick get out to a 6-second lead here because you're just not, you're going to burn too much tire trying to make that up. But at the same time, you kind of have to burn your stuff up and get to the front. Otherwise, he's going to check out anyway.
I say let him check out. Let him go. Let him absolutely run the car, run the rubber off of those tires. If you get a caution, it brings you right back up to him. If you don't, he doesn't have any rubber left, and you go out there and pass him organically. If he's going to be the only car running way out there and building up a huge gap on the field, let him do it. You'll get by him on your own.
It's a great point. You just kind of have to manage your own individual race. And quite frankly, if he runs out to a 6-second lead and beats you by 6 seconds, kudos to him. He earned the win. And then at that point, everybody kind of fights for best in class.
Yeah, you might all have the same chassis, same power plant, same car. But sometimes there's just one guy out there who's got it figured out, and sorry, you're running for second place tonight.
Well, we're down to 60 laps to go here at Gateway. Kevin Dick and Roger Rios on the front row for the restart. Mike Larch and Jeff Yenish on row 2. Tyler Seville, Troy Haight on row number 3. Row 4 looks like it will be Will Worsler. Tyler Seville and Troy Haight on row 3. Row 4, Will Worsler and Andrew Mraz. So the pace truck will make that hard left-hand turn. Field will go under the control of Kevin Dick. Once again, a huge jump for Kevin Dick. Oh, we may have trouble a little bit deeper back in the pack, seeing a little bit of smoke. I think Roger Rios did not get going because that car is all the way back to the 14th position here on the restart.
Is he just sleeping at the wheel? Did his pedals disconnect real quick and couldn't get back to the power?
Let's take a look and see. Take a look and see if we can see what happened here to Rios on the restart. Keep your eye on that number 5 machine in the outside lane. Oh man, that car just snapped left, almost like a missed shift. That was a mess. So we go back to the live look here, and Rios back up to the 12th position, but he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
Whoop.
that could just be some malfunctioning hardware. I know if I'm going really crazy on my shifter, when it's in the sequential mode, if I yank back on that sucker way too hard, it'll kind of bounce forward, and if you're in just the right amount of float on the throttle, it'll definitely dump it back into the lower gear. So that could very possibly be what we just saw.
Yeah, I mean, my hardware is ancient, and quite frankly, we make jokes about how ancient my hardware is. But it will happen where in a sequential, you hit the floppy paddle once, and you get 2. Or you go the other way and you accidentally grab 2, you try to go down 1, and it goes down 2 anyway. And all of a sudden, you're kind of flipping the paddles around, and the car's just spinning wheels and kind of making a mess for everybody.
Yeah, I believe I remember my grandfather telling me a story about how he was building your racing wheel before the war.
Yeah. Hardware is older than Patrick, I believe. Or at least really close to.
I believe your hardware is about 6 months younger than I am. So your hardware is legally allowed to go to a bar and buy a drink. We should take your Driving Force GT to the bar with us.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Just set it up with a laptop right there on the bar.
God, that's brutal. Back to the racing here. Lee Campbell up on the outside of Roger Rios. Johnny Avila's there as well. Man, Campbell's got a handful off of 4.
Tell you what, you don't even need to bring a Blockbuster card into a bar when you get carded. You can just bring your Driving Force GT in there and they'll serve you a drink.
Yes. I'm old. I will take. I will claim that. Guess what? I'll eat that bullet. That's die on that sword, whatever it is. Oh, man, Richard Fletcher way up towards the outside. Safer barrier there at the entrance to turn number 3. Fletch going to lose a couple of positions, back to 14th. Look ahead here, Troy Haight and Andrew Mraz. Something that Mraz is going to have to be a little bit, actually, I'm sorry, that was Braden Carroll. By claiming the caution, I believe that is only an R1 penalty to the 45 of Andrew Mraz. If you get to an R4, basically 4 racecraft penalty points, you're done for the night. So that's something that some of these drivers that have been involved in incidents, they have to kind of put some thought into if they are possibly in danger of hitting that 4-point limit.
Yeah, it kind of forces you to back down and not get into another incident because you could be parked for the next week.
Take a look, see if we can find a decent battle out here. I mean, there's really nobody that's that close to each other except for this fight. Quentin Clark, Tyler Seville, Roger Rios, all within a couple of tenths. I believe that's Johnny Avila. Yeah, it is Johnny working up behind the 5 of Roger Rios. Avila being scored at 2 laps down, but he is the first car 1 lap down. I don't know that there is any way you're going to organically make up 2 laps. You're not going to go full Jacques Villeneuve. As Seville looks inside of Quentin Clark, he gets that pass made. Rios not able to follow him through. Man, big push on corner exit, though, for Seville. Does that thought enter your head as a driver at all? Of, I could make this pass, but the tire wear that comes with it just isn't worth it?
Absolutely it does. Usually I try to drive, especially in a tire wear race, of forcing the guy in front of me just burn his stuff up, wait for him to just push up the racetrack, not be able to keep the speed up, and then go right on by him. Kind of like Johnny Vila just did right there. He might get 2 for 1 here. No, it's just going to be 1.
Oh, man. Big twitch
Almost
there out of the
contact there with
63.
Clark.
Possibly a little bit of a connection issue here for Troy Haight, seeing him bounce in and out of timing and scoring a little bit. Pick up Andrew Mraz going to work on Mike Large. That's for the 3rd and final spot on the podium. Jeff Yenish not too far up the road. Kevin Dick has already opened the lead up to 1.8 seconds. Now down to 47 to go. This race almost has the feel of what we're going to see next week at Daytona. Just that feel of something's going to happen, you just don't know when.
You don't know who it's going to be. You don't know when it's going to happen. You just know something's going to happen here. We're cooking the pot, the lid's on, and you're just waiting for it to boil over.
Yeah, at Daytona, it's who's going to make a bad bump draft, who's going to make a mistimed block, those sorts of things. Here, it's who's going to burn up the right front tire and eventually get the snap oversteer. And this is going to be tough because Kevin was talking about he was kind of hoping to see a caution at about the halfway point of the run. We're approaching that window now where another 10 laps or so, you'll be about halfway through the run. At that point, you would have about 30 laps left to go and a set of tires left in the box. And at that point, these guys can really kind of go nuts.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting one to watch. See who makes the mistake as Quentin Clark. Oh, or excuse me, I keep calling him Quentin Clark. Andrew Mraz. They don't even drive a similar looking car. I've been off the ball tonight. It's real loose coming out of turn number 2.
That's right.
I guess him and Fletcher, but Fletcher's been around for a while, so it's the 2 number 40-something cars that are screwing me up.
Yeah, Bizzle now heading up the A- team on a broadcast when nights that I am not available. More so being carried by the color commentary, but that's all right.
Well, we got our buddy from across the Atlantic, Sebastian Kinder, to join us, and of course we've got James Watson here on the Thursday night, so...
Yeah, this week they are heading to Summit Point Raceway. That'll be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock in the East. I cannot wait. Last couple of times we visited Summit Point, it has been incredible racing. It just, everything about that place is fun. It's too narrow for cars. It's too twisty for some of the lower downforce formula cars. But my God, does that make it a fun show.
It's unfortunate we don't have the modern version of that circuit on the iRacing platform. The new version of that track, the track is a bit wider throughout all of it. And they combine the Jefferson circuit and the main circuit. So there's actually a cut through now that connects both tracks, and it is absolutely fantastic to go out there and run on. I believe our version on iRacing is from 2009, so about a decade and a half old. So if we can get a truck out there and rescan the new circuit, I would love that.
Yeah, I think there may be a lot of rescans coming, actually, because with some of the new environmental variables that iRacing has introduced, it is really evident at Willow Springs, and it looks spectacular. But the detail that goes into some of the vegetation and those types of things, it is a big deal in not only how much processing power it requires, but also just the visual aesthetic of the sim has really gotten good.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally need a $17,000 graphics card for iRacing.
Yeah, it's going to change how we do our broadcasts pretty significantly, because right now we're able to run all the broadcast stuff and a copy of iRacing on the same machine. Those new variable track kind of features and dynamics and stuff just absolutely take that out of the question. You're either going to know as lower quality feeds on your broadcast that you watch, or you're going to know who's putting out the big bucks to run multiple computer systems and those types of things. And we've already got that here at the NRN World Broadcast Headquarters, so we're prepped and ready for it as iRacing releases this stuff. But looking at timing and scoring, there is nobody close to one another. Mike Larch and Andrew Mraz is the closest fight on the racetrack, and it's almost half a second separating those cars as Larch comes around the 23 of Richard Smith II. John Moeller is now the first car one lap down in the 15th position. So Johnny Avila would not get the lucky dog to get one of his 2 laps back. And as we sit here and chat, Kevin Dick continues to open up the lead over Jeff Yenish. It's now up to almost 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, Kevin Dick absolutely still running away with this thing, and I'm just sitting here waiting for those tires to fall off, like I was saying before we went green, but frankly, I don't know if they're going to.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to see it, quite frankly. I mean, obviously, the tires are falling off. Kevin Dick set the best lap of the race on this stint at a 34.624. His 5-lap average is up to a 35.6. So they are running a full second slower than the best laps that they ran at the start of the stint. However, the second time you get this deep into the run, you kind of get a better feel for what the car's going to do as the tires fall off, and maybe makes it a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah, because the pace is going to slow down, and you kind of know more of what the car can and can't do, and you're not stepping it nearly as close to the boundaries of what the car is able to do. It makes it a little bit easier to drive, too, because the cars just get a push. You no longer get that kind of snap oversteer.
Let's pick up AJ Digby, Tyler Seville, and Roger Rios. These guys are now all within about a half second or so of each other. Rios closing down to within 2/10 as Seville works his way through lap traffic. This will be 8th, 9th, and 10th on the racetrack. We're now down to 34 laps to go.
I wonder if Roger Rios is going to try and make a move on Tyler Seville anytime soon. He was up there at the front pretty much the entire time during this race, so I wonder if he's just lost the speed, lost the confidence in the car after getting it super loose on that last restart, or if he just doesn't have anything to get up there. It's kind of like everyone's running the same equipment now, and nobody can make a move on each other.
This point, I don't want to say it's as bad as the old Dover hostage crises 500 lap races, but there is a certain feel to this of we're just going to work on managing the car to be there at the end at this point, because if somebody has a problem in front of you, it's going to be good for a couple of positions, and the leaders are so gapped out right now. There's not even a ton of incentive to push hard here with 31 to go.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hurry up and wait kind of scenario where you're waiting for someone to make a mistake, someone to get in the wall, and just making sure that it's not you. Everyone's kind of just waiting for another caution to come out, but if everyone's being super duper careful, I don't think we're going to get another caution.
No, I don't think so. Looking at the laps led board, Kevin Dick going to claim the bonus point for most laps led. He has led 93 of the 110 laps completed thus far. Johnny Avila has 16. Andrew Mraz also picking up 1 lap led. But that's been it here in this race. The other one we can show you here is the points gained information. Hunter Waters gaining 13 spots, now running in the 7th position. Jeff Yenish up 6, Mike Larch, Will Wursler, and Tyler Seville all up 4 positions apiece. I'll tell you what, for Will Wursler here, we don't see him a ton. Maybe a little bit of life getting in the way of the playing video games thing, but I'll tell you what, first run back in quite a while for Will, and having a nice run here inside the top 10.
Yeah, Will Wursler definitely showing that he's still got what it takes to run in these cars. if you remember from probably about a year ago, he hated the switch to the next gen car. But he seems to have really found a new home in it, and he's running the 6th position, more than halfway up through the field, and beating out some of his drivers that we consider some of the best in the series.
Yeah, Tyler Seville, Roger Rios, Quentin Clark, obviously Johnny Avila back in 16th. Johnny having the issue getting turned early in the race, but yeah, good run tonight for Will. And that was probably one of the most challenging things when we picked up the Sim Racers Club series, was the back and forth between the Next Gen and the B-Class car. You kind of had to identify what was where and, quite frankly, who was good in each car, because that could vary a fair bit as well. Now it seems like the car's been out on the platform long enough that we really have a pretty solid feel of who's good in the Next Gen and who's going to be up front week in and week out.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen drivers who were some of the best stay up towards the front, but we've seen some drivers get shaken up by this car. Some drivers we used to see towards the front of the field all the time, now sitting towards the back, and some of the drivers towards the back that are now sitting up towards the front. Tyler Seville, kind of one of those drivers, absolute master at the B-Class car, and not trying to call him out, but hasn't been at the very front with the Next Gen yet, hasn't gotten his hands completely around this car. It definitely is a very, very different driving car. Hasn't had any super poor results, but just not up there finishing in the top 3 every week like he was in the B-Class car.
Yeah, let's take a look here and see. That might have been a little bit of a connection blink there for Mike Large, but yeah, Tyler Seville is, let's see, easily the most experienced driver in this series. 169 races, 168 starts. At one time, the league did have some provisionals that were available, but 15 poles, 15 wins, 72% top 10 finish rate, and entering tonight, 25,662.9 miles completed. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's only a couple times around the country.
Yeah. Approaching halfway around the world, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Let's see what the diameter of this planet we all share is. The diameter of Earth is 7,900 miles. It's a little bit over that, but we don't have to get overly specific. So, how many has Tyler Seville run?
Well, no, the diameter is the across. You're looking for circumference.
Oh, it's the circumference, yeah. Sorry. That would be 24,902, and if you're real good at doing pi and equations in your head, you could have figured that out at home.
That is correct. Will Worsler looking inside of Andrew Mraz for the 4th position now. Down to 22 laps to go. So, yes, Tyler Seville is in the Around the World Club with the Sim Racers Club. He's turned more miles than it is to go around the Earth once. Says, oh, buddy, that was tight off of 2. I don't know if that was left side loving or right side romance, depending on which driver you're a fan of, but maybe a little bit of contact there off of turn 2. Now, are we to a point in the race here, as we're down to 21 to go, where if the caution flies, are you just doing the opposite of what Kevin Dick does?
Well, yeah, everyone is doing the opposite of what Kevin Dick is doing, which is absolutely dominate this race and run away from the rest of the field. It doesn't seem like anyone else is able to do that.
Well,
so,
yeah,
they're all
I'm
doing
saying
the opposite.
If we get a caution late in the race, does everybody come down pit lane Well, looks like trouble for Roger Rios. He is on pit lane with 20 laps to go. Only about 53 laps on the stint here. Let's see, looks like Rios may have had an off track though. Take a look at the instant replay. Yeah, no, he just came down onto pit lane all by himself. So crew going to work on the car here. He's going to try to put some heaters in. Problem is he's going to be at least one lap down to race leader Kevin Dick. But if everybody else has to stop because they're going to need fuel, that could be a race-winning undercut strategy too.
Yeah, just throw some fresh rubbers on the car, and even if it doesn't get you the win, it might get you some positions.
Well, Rios still falling back through the field. Actually, that car's got to have damage because he is on pit lane now in the box for upwards of 60 seconds. So tough break for Roger Rios. Looks like his night and a shot at a top 10 finish will be over here with now 17 laps to go. Andrew Mraz leading Will Worsler and Troy Haight. Richard Smith, the second, clears out of the way. Oh, the 45 slides high. What a dive by Will Worsler in the midpoint of the corner. Man, you can see, though, how much momentum you give up trying to run that inside lane. Will Worsler now actually going to have to battle with Troy Haight to even stay inside the top 5. And I'll tell you what, that's about the best that 29 machine has looked all night here, as we are down to 15 to go.
Yeah, and he's on the hunt. Looks like he's going to try and go for a top 4. Has to get on the binders there in the mid-corner. He's still going to have the run on Andrew Mraz. John Moeller proving very difficult to pass here.
Oh, Worsler. Wow. What a dive there by Will Worsler. Oh, and Mraz bumps the wall off a 4.
Worsler's going to try and make the dive in the 1. He's looking for it. Does he get it? No. Mraz shuts that door real quick. Worsler's going to force it right back open. They're going to be side by side, and contact between the two cars going through turn number 2.
Oh, man, big twitch by Worsler. He almost got into the left rear of Mraz on corner exit. Richard Fletcher making his way down the pit lane. That will be out of position number 13. Worsler now thinking about having the way high look through 1 and 2. That's going to open the door for Troy Haight. It almost feels like there is exactly one lane you can run through turns 1 and 2 and be fast. Too far inside, you're slow on corner exit. Too high, you're just giving up too much.
Yeah, there's really no optimal place to run this track. It's kind of just run wherever it feels right and see what you can do with it.
Roger Rios putting up a new fastest lap of the race.
Did you see how sideways Avila got in the entry to turn number 1?
Yeah, these tires and cars at this point are just absolute hot garbage. It's Tyler Seville and Quentin Clark battling for the 9th position. Slide back up to this battle between Mraz and Worsler in that fight for the 4th position. Mike Larch making up some ground here on Jeff Yenish as well. The gap's about 4/10, so we'll stay here, but we'll keep an eye on that fight for the 2nd position. Man, so much speed at the mid-corner for Will Worsler, but he's got to back out of it. Can't complete the pass, and that forces him to just lay off the throttle a little bit on corner exit. I mean, Will Worsler has been trying this pass for the better part of 15 laps or so as we are inside of 10 to go. Just 9 laps remaining here at Gateway. Battle for second, now down to about 2/10. Let's pick that one up as they get to turn number 1. Jeff Yenish trying to hold off Mike Larch here for second. Again, this battle happening about 7.5 seconds back of race leader Kevin Dick. Larch a little bit tight on corner exit off of 2. He's going to give back about 1/10.5 that time. Let's pick up our race leader. We have not shown this guy hardly at all tonight. Led 117 laps to this point.
He's running a real weird line going in the 1, like kind of shooting the car way up high and diamonding it like Jimmy Johnson might have at the Martinsville Speedway in turns 1 and 2. Same thing in 3 and 4, kind of diamonding the corner, and that might be the key here tonight that only he's figured out so far. But only 6 laps to go. I think it's a little late for anyone else to pick up on it, but
yeah, it's basically not going to happen.
Brings it in way low, brings it up like halfway up the racetrack, and then brings it back down low again. That is a wild line.
Let's slide back here because Mraz, Worsler, and Haight have resumed their hostilities. Big slide up the racetrack again for Mraz. Mraz able to do just enough to keep Will Worsler behind him. This is the kind of battle that's fun, though, is now Worsler going to look outside through 3 and 4. These are the fun kind of battles, though. You're going to run hard with somebody for 20, 30, 40 laps and not a ton of contact made, and quite frankly, this is kind of what you do this for. Man, Will Worsler is trying everything.
Yeah, he's looking for grip all over the speedway, and that opens the door for Troy Haight to get to the inside of him.
Down to 3 laps to go. The gap holding steady at about 7.5 seconds at the front of the field. So we'll stay right here with this battle because it's the best one we have. Now just 2 laps to go for Kevin Dick.
Will Worsler trying to stick it up the inside once again. Not going to make it happen there. He's running out of opportunities if he wants to get that 4th spot.
Yeah, white flag is out. 1 lap to go here at Gateway. World Wide Technology Raceway. And this race has been absolutely dominated by Kevin Dick. If he can get through turns 3 and 4, he will pick up his 123rd lap lead. Checkered flag goes in the air, and Kevin Dick gets a dominant win at Gateway. Off the final quarter, Jeff Yenish going to come home second. Let's pick up this fight between Andrew Mraz and Will Worsler. These guys will race down to the line. Mraz holds on for the 4th position, followed by Worsler, Haight, Digby, and Hunter Waters back to the 8th position. There is your race winner, Kevin Dick, the custom paints and die cast number 52. And Johnny Avila going to join the party, it looks like, here on the front stretch.
Hell yeah, Johnny Avila, always one that's up for a party, likes to do burnouts whenever he can.
Take a look at your race results here. Kevin Dick, the winner by 8.1 seconds over Jeff Yenish. Mike Larch rounds out the podium. Andrew Mraz and Will Worsler will complete your top 5 here this evening. 6 through 10 will be Troy Haight, AJ Digby, Hunter Waters, Quentin Clark, and Tyler Seville. Jim Thorndike, Lee Campbell, Johnny Avila, Richard Fletcher, Roger Rios back through the 15th position. 16 through 20, John Moeller, Richard Smith II, Scott Wise, Dean Gagliano, Justin Rideout, and in 21st tonight is Braden Carroll. I thought Kevin Dick was about to go full attenuator party there.
That would have been fantastic. We might have had to send him an invite to the TNT series if he did that.
He's going to get the party rolling here. We'll start to get ready for our Victory Lane interviews as well. Driving it in reverse down the pit access road. Now he's up through the grass onto the racing surface. Good look at that racing car, though.
So going forward, he was burning all the rubber off the tires. So this might be the strategy how he won. If you put it in reverse, it's like putting rubber back on the tires. I think they tried this in the Ferris Bueller movie. With the Ferrari.
Allegedly.
That might be the key.
Well, let's see. Let's get ready to talk to our race winner here. Let's see. Well, let's find him here first. Get him drug up to the broadcast booth. Here in Victory Lane, your race winner tonight, a guy who was, quite frankly, had to be bored out front. 123 laps led, picks up the win in Stage 1, Stage 2, and Stage 3. Kevin Dick, congratulations. That was an utterly dominant performance here tonight.
Thanks. Sucks what happened to Johnny early. Was looking forward to racing him hard throughout this race, and it's going to be a bummer. That's going to be a big points hit to him. So he's going to have to really get his stuff together and stay consistent, because I think I'm going to have a pretty good points lead after this one.
Yeah, I think the points lead is going to be pretty massive. You entered the night with a 5-point gap, but picking up all the stage wins and all the bonus points and everything else. Tyler finishing in 10th, Johnny having his issues, Quentin back in 9th. I don't want to say you can start getting confident, but you got to feel pretty good here in terms of where the championship standings will be after 4 races.
I am feeling pretty good, but it doesn't mean I can let my guard down. All it takes is one bad race, and it puts you right back into that spot. So I think out of all my races, I've been pretty consistent. So I don't think I have a real drop week yet. So, but I don't know. I don't want to count on that.
Well, taking a look at the race here tonight, Patrick made a really astute observation, which doesn't happen all that often, but he absolutely nailed it. You looked like you were running a different line to what everybody else was doing, kind of Jimmy Johnson-esque diamonding the corners off. Do you think that was the key to your speed here tonight? Because everybody's on a fixed setup, the same car. It has to come down to driving style.
Possibly. I know I probably found a little bit more time in the middle of 3 and 4 diamonding there, but 1 and 2, I don't know, it's sort of a crapshoot. Lots of times I'd miss my braking point and overshoot it, so I'd have to like really jam the brakes hard to slow the car down. So it might look like I was running different, but more likely I just overdrove the corner.
Oh, that's awesome. He's talking about abusing the car, beating it up, and he still runs away with an 8-second win. Congratulations, bud. We have not seen one. Well, I guess we saw one that dominant last week with Tyler, but they don't come often here in the Sim Racers Club. Enjoy it. And before we let you go, do all the big sponsor plugs and thank yous.
Yeah, give a shout out to the guys at Pie-Eyed. I don't know where Andrew was today, so that's going to be a bummer for him, but well, here's what it is. Shout out to Custom Paints and Diecast, Jordan painting great cars, and Jordan and Sam for running a great league, and you guys up in the booth.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here for a couple of minutes. And now we're going to get a chance to talk to the guy who was, I'm going to say, best in class here tonight. Jeff Yenish picking up a very nice second-place finish. But, man, I don't know there was anybody getting close to Kevin Dick here tonight. And that 89 machine was pretty darn sporty. So watching you on the restarts and all, looked like you could kind of do what you wanted with the car in some respects.
It didn't feel like that behind the wheel. It was I was definitely kind of struggling out there. Probably didn't look like that since I got second. But, yeah, it was a tough one tonight, that's for sure.
Looking at a little bit at the championship battle here, everybody else ahead of you having some issues, either did not start or finishing kind of mid-pack. You got to be thinking a little bit here. Top 3, podium spot in points is absolutely in the cards for you now.
I hope so. The problem is I have to miss Daytona next week, which really sucks. But yeah, I know I get one drop week, so that's definitely going to be mine, and we're just going to have to make up for it on the back end. Definitely had a good points night, though. I know we had last 2 races. I missed out on a bunch of stage points. I felt like I could have gotten just getting in wrecks and things. And tonight we capitalized a little more on the points.
Well, yeah, and talk us a little bit through the night here because we were watching you and Mike later in the race. Things were starting to close up a little bit there. Is that just a matter of how you were catching lap traffic, or did you have to do a whole lot more holding on than it looked like?
I just had a couple brain farts where I downshifted too early and almost wrecked myself. I gave up. I pulled away for a second or so from him, and then have to gather it back up, and then he'd be right back at my bumper. Yeah, the left traffic. We had a couple guys that I don't know if they didn't know I was coming or weren't sure where to go, but yeah, definitely some miscommunication in terms of where we were going. So that kind of checked me up. But Mike was cool about that. He didn't want to pass me due to something like that. But it was a good battle at the end. I had to definitely stay on my toes and try to pull away from him at the end, which is tough to do.
Well, working hard and earning those podium finishes. Congratulations on the second place here tonight, Jeff. And before we let you go, make sure you get all the sponsor plugs and thank yous done.
Yeah, thanks Rayos Homemade for being on the car, and special thank you to all the admins. Do a great job running the league. Appreciate all their time investment they put into it. You guys for putting together great broadcasts each week. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here for just a moment. And now it's time to bring in Mike Larch, our third place finisher here tonight. And I'll tell you what, we were just talking to Jeff about the nice battle that you guys were starting to have late in this race. Talk us through that a little bit, because he said it almost felt like you didn't want to pass him because of lap traffic. You wanted to earn it. Was there a little bit of that going on there behind the wheel of the two?
Yeah, we talked after the race while we were waiting for you guys to pull us up. Yeah, on that last restart we had, which was like lap 65 or something, I believe. The 5 car missed the shift, and he ended up raiding my lap pretty much. Came down the track, got into me. He kept it straight, got going, and I don't know, I came out in like third or fourth, and then Jeff got out there, and then I was able to run him down there with like maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those races, it seemed like, where you guys were constantly fighting both a setup that wanted to push and then the tire wear. After all the early cautions, we had a just massive run to end the race here. How difficult did it get running on just absolute junk for tires towards the end of those runs?
Well, the tires on these cars hold up relatively pretty good. So I felt like for me, after like 15, 20 laps, it kind of snugged up a little bit. But like what you were saying, you get behind somebody, you just push right to the wall. So you got to be mindful of that. Real sensitive on the throttle coming off these turns for these cars. And then, yeah, I guess trying to manage traffic and lap cars, and these guys race clean. It's a blast every single week. So.
Well, we appreciate you coming out to hang out with us here in the booth for a couple of minutes after a long, hard-fought race here. And before we let you go, do any of the sponsor plugs and thank yous you'd like to get in?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys up in the booth up there. You guys do a good job every single week. Fun to go back and watch the races. Sam, both the Jordans, for putting this league on, and they do a great job of all of us in here beating on each other and probably driving them crazy. So I guess appreciate everything.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us and having a little bit of chat with us here at the end of this one. And I'll tell you what, Patrick, a race that I didn't necessarily think we were going to see play out this way ended up being just not what I thought. I mean, I went into this race watching practice going, are we going to practically see a pack race here? And instead, we got a battle of tire wear, a little bit of attrition, and quite frankly, keep yourself out of trouble.
And a battle of Kevin Dick just absolutely running away from the battle, going, you boys have fun back there. I've got this place figured out, and you guys have fun fighting for second place.
Yeah, it was adios amigos very early on for Kevin Dick. We have not, I mean, Tyler Seville put on a show last week at Charlotte. He was very good. But there were people close to him at various points. Outside of the immediate restarts, there was nobody that was anywhere close to Kevin Dick tonight. And quite frankly, we're seeing that start to happen in the championship standings as well. Again, he's at the front of the field, spends the entire night there, and quite frankly, that's how you're going to have to win a championship. If you're any of these guys from Tyler Seville on back through the field, you had better podium out the rest of the season if you want to have a shot at this championship.
Yeah, and that's the way you're going to have to do it because it seems like we're getting a different winner every week. Somebody figures it out, dominates. So you got to just make sure you're on the podium, get all the stage points you can get.
Yeah, 4th race this season with a 4th different winner. We'll see if that trend will continue next week in the Barb Moeller Myasthenia Gravis Awareness 200 at Daytona International Speedway. But with that, it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. Tomorrow night, we will have the U.S. Open Wheel doubleheader for the Indy Pro 2000 and USF 2000s from Summit Point. And then we are back on the air next Monday night with the Silver Crown Cup Series. I almost said USAC Silver Crowns. The Silver Crown Cup Series coming to you at 9:45 p.m. in the East on Monday night. With that, Bizzle and I are getting out of here. Thank you all so much for coming to hang out with us. We really appreciate it. For Patrick and everybody here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.